Hello and welcome. Our last session we started our studies on GST, indirect taxes. We started with certain background of GST, which was the pre-GST era, what kind of tax structure was prevailing that time. Finally, we ended that session with certain features of GST. GST is a consumption based tax, and it is imposed on the basis of destination principle. That was the first prime feature which I told you. Second key feature which we discussed was that GST is collected on value addition. These were the two things under the topic key features of GST we studied in our previous session. Now, continuing with the prime features, with the key features of GST, let me first tell you something about the constitutional framework of GST. It is Article 246A which gives the power to impose GST. Article 246A of the Constitution. It gives the power to impose, to levy GST, goods and services tax. Okay. Now this GST bill, it was passed by 101st Amendment Act 2016. I am repeating this. This GST bill, it was passed under 101 Amendment Act 2016. Point number 3. The GST was rolled out in India when? On 1st of July 2017. 1st July 2017 was the date when GST was rolled out in India. It was implemented in India, 1st July 2017. Okay. Since it was rolled out on 1st of July, 1st of July is now being observed as GST Day. Okay. What is 1st July? 1st July is now GST Day. Right? Now, even though we implemented it in 2017, but GST is not, a new concept. Rather, as of now, roughly 150 countries, they have already implemented GST in some form or the other. France was the first country which implemented GST. You know when? It was way back in 1954. 1954, France implemented GST. They created this concept and they implemented this concept there in 1954. Okay. In India, we are implementing it now in 2017. Okay. That means GST has already a time proven concept now. Okay. There is nothing wrong about it. Only thing you would have to, adopt that kind of GST which is harmonious with your society, with your economy. And I think in last session I told you about this also, that in majority of the countries, GST, the kind of model they have adopted for GST, it is called a unified GST model. But here in India, what we adopted is, we call it the dual model, DUAL, dual model of GST. Now, what is dual model of GST? Under dual model of GST, the center and the states, okay, they have got, both center as well as the states, they got the right to make law, they got the right to collect GST, they got the right to levy and impose GST. Okay. The center has also the authority, as well as the states. They have also this authority with them. Okay. Now, because center and states both, they are, equal players in this GST scene. So this model is called the dual model, DUAL, dual model of GST. We adopted dual model of GST. Why? Because yes, we have our, federal structure here in India. Our constitution has a federal sense to it. So we adopted the dual model of GST. Okay. Now coming to the next prime feature of GST. Now you should see what is written on the board. Okay. There are 5 legislations which cover the GST. 5 legislatures, they cover GST, or GST is covered under 5 legislations. Now, which are these 5 legislations? Now, please see. The first one is Central GST Act. It is Central GST Act. Normally, we write it as CGST. Okay? Now, through CGST Act, you impose Central Goods and Service Tax. Okay? This column I will tell you later. Now, the next legislation is State GST. The first one is Central GST and second is State GST. Okay? State GST, normally we call it SGST Act. Okay? Now, third is called IGST, Integrated GST. Okay? Now, integrated means what? Integration means that more than one things they are taken together. They have been integrated to make a whole, WHOLE. Okay? One unit. Right? So, the third legislation here is Integrated GST Act, IGST. Okay? The fourth one is Union Territory GST Act, UTGST. Okay? And the fifth legislation, it has got a different kind of nature. It is made to give certain amount of compensation to the states if the state is suffering from any kind of revenue loss because of GST. If any state has suffered or has incurred a revenue loss on account of GST, then the center would give some compensation to that state. Okay? And through which act the center would give the compensation to the states? This legislation, this is called the GST Compensation to State Act. Okay? So, under these 5 legislations, the entire GST has been covered. Okay? The first one, which is Central GST, the second one, which is State GST. Okay? Now, they both are apply. The Central GST, it is the CGST. The State GST, it is SGST. Okay? Now, SGST and CGST, both are imposed in cases of intra-state transactions. They are imposed in cases of within a state transactions. Okay? Now, please see what is written there. CGST you apply in case of intra-state supplies. I told you what? Intra-state transactions. Now, please note, in GST, we term our commercial business transactions as supplies. Okay? If someone is purchasing something, someone selling something, we call it supply. For manufacturing plus selling that manufactured goods, there is one single term, supply. Okay? Supply is rather a very, very important term in GST. Any kind of sale purchase transaction, any kind of service providing transaction, for us it is a supply. Okay? Now, please see, CGST and SGST, they are imposed in case of intra-state supplies. Intra-state means within a state supplies. Okay. Now IGST, integrated GST. What are the things which we are integrating here in IGST? The answer is CGST and SGST. Okay. Combining CGST and SGST, it makes it IGST, integrated GST. Okay. Now integrated GST, IGST is to be imposed in case of interstate supplies, interstate transactions of sale and purchase. Interstate supplies. Interstate supply means where more than one state is involved in that transaction. Okay. Now the fourth one is UTGST. I think now you can see right from its name. Okay. Any supplies which is intra-UT, which is within a union territory, you need to apply UTGST on them. So all intra-union territory supplies, you are going to apply this tax, UTGST. These are various kind of GST now. First one is central GST. You apply it in case of intra-state supplies. Then SGST. Again you apply SGST on intra-state supplies. IGST on interstate supplies. UTGST on supplies which are within a certain union territory. Okay. And then last, the fifth legislation, which is GST Compensation to State Act. Now, this is valuable in case a state claims that it is incurring or it has incurred a revenue loss because of GST implementation in that state. Okay. Now, in that case, the center would give the state the due compensation, so that whatever loss, revenue loss the state has incurred or suffered because of GST, that could be made good. So the center would give this compensation to the state under this act called GST Compensation to State Act. Right? Now these are the 5 legislations wherein the entire GST is covered. Okay? Please note that it is our very first chapter, the most basic chapter, Introduction to GST or Overview of GST, which we are doing right away. Okay. Now for all these important points, there are separate chapters on them. So whenever we would reach there, we would then study them, in detail. As of now, you are getting a feeling of GST. What GST is all about. What are the prime key features in GST? Okay. Now coming to the next one. Next one is the taxable event in GST is supply. Just now I told you that supply is a very, very important term in GST. Right? The taxable event in GST is supply. Okay. Your next chapter is on supply. You would study supply in detail in your next chapter. But right away, let me tell you that this is one of the most important, fact to be remember in case of GST, that the taxable event in GST is supply. Now, what is taxable event? Taxable event simply means an event or a happening or an occurrence whereby the obligation to impose tax there, it gets arised. So what is a taxable event? Taxable event is that event because of which the authorities would impose tax on you. You would come under the tax net. Taxable event. So I am a shopkeeper, I am a trader. If I am making certain supplies, okay, and the annual quantum of my supplies, it is more than the threshold limit, it means I would have to pay tax. Okay. It is the supply which is the taxable event in GST. And what is taxable event? Any event, any happening or any occurrence because of which the person which owns those supplies or which is undertaking those supplies becomes liable to pay tax. This is called taxable event, right? So the taxable event in GST is supply. This you must remember always. Okay. Now the next feature of GST is about the GST rates. Okay. Now primarily four rates are given in GST. Four rates. The first rate is 5%, then it is 12%, then it is 18%, and then it is finally 28%. These are the four rates given in GST. Okay. Now I told you that in pre-GST era there were number of taxes, fragmented taxes. On manufacturing it was excise, on selling interstate CST, within the state VAT, on service it would be service tax. Now if you take the maximum rate which was there in all of these taxes, okay, you would have a tax rate which would be much more than 28%. Okay, that means even though those taxes were fragmented, but if you are doing a full full cycle of trading or manufacturing and trading, then on to you the impact of tax, it used to be comparatively very high in comparison to what you are paying under GST. Under GST the maximum you can pay is 28%. 28% is the tax rate for your manufacturing. Even if you are providing certain services, when you are selling it, everything combined, it would be maximum 28%, right? Even though 28% is a rate which is considered to be on a higher side, and yes, it is considered rightly to be on higher side. There is no doubt about it, because if you see it at the world level, there are hardly any countries who are having a 28% of GST rate. You would not find it so commonly. Maybe you would not find it even anywhere. So even though it is a very high rate, but if you consider the previous taxes and their highest rates, and if you add them up, the highest rates, if you add them all the highest rates there, then the overall tax would be much more than 28%. So these four rates, when they announced 5%, they gave a certain list of products whereon you need to apply the 5% tax rate. Then it was 12%, again a list for 12%, then 18%, 28%. Okay. Now after 28%, there is a list called list of sin goods, SIN, sin goods, luxurious goods. Okay, many a times sin goods and luxurious goods, they are taken as similar terms, but many a times they say that luxurious goods are different and sin goods are different. What is the difference? Sin goods are essentially those goods which give some kind of bad effect to the society at large. For example, cigarettes. Okay, now cigarettes are definitely, they do fall under sin goods, because even though they may give certain amount of revenue to the government, but people who consume it, and even the other people who are not simply consuming it directly but indirectly they are getting affected by them, it is a huge loss to the society at large. And that is why cigarettes and other similar products, they are listed as sin goods. Now what happens in case of sin goods? They say that if your product is covered under the list of sin goods, then a compensation cess would also be applied on you. A compensation cess. Okay, so if what you are manufacturing is covered under the list of sin goods, that means whatever this rate would be, but you might have to pay over and above this rate a compensation cess, and that compensation cess, generally it is also a very high rate. Okay, no such rate is given here, but generally it is a very high rate. Okay, Now, even now they have, what I would say, they have really widened the scope of sin goods. Lately, they have included even carbonated drinks and some kind of candies also in sin goods in that list. Okay. Now, the luxurious cars, they are also covered under sin goods. The super luxury cars, they are covered under sin goods. You might have heard, it is just, I think, a fortnight back, this company, this car Jaguar, okay, they have raised an objection that their cars should not be covered under the list of sin goods. Okay, number one, they give their car a kind of, bad name, plus because of their entry into sin goods, a very high rate of compensation cess is also being imposed on the cars. Thereby the cars are becoming more costly for the people, for their customers. So they raised this objection there. I am talking about the Jaguar car case. So sin goods, okay, 5%, 12%, 18%, 28% plus compensation cess on sin goods. These are the rates given under GST. Okay. Now, for the precious metals like gold, they have given a special rate of 3%. 3% GST. That means if you are manufacturing and then trading, selling your precious metal products, precious metal goods, then you would be subjected to a 3% CGST. Manufacturing as well as selling, everything covers under 3%. Okay. So these are the rates initially given in GST: 5%, 12, 18, 28, a special rate of 3% on precious metal things, and for sin goods there is a compensation cess. Okay. Now coming to the next feature. The next feature is about threshold limit. Now what is threshold limit? In income tax, if your income is up to a particular level, okay, you don't have to pay any income tax. Okay, you are outside the scope of income tax if your income is below a particular level. Now we call that level the basic exemption limit. Okay, so anybody who having income up to basic exemption limit or within the basic exemption limit, you would not have to fear about income tax, because the government is not charging any income tax from you then. Okay. Now in case of GST, there is a threshold limit. The meaning for the threshold limit remains the same, that if the quantum of your supplies during a particular year is below a particular limit, then no GST would be imposed on you. You don't have to pay any GST then. What is that threshold limit? Initially the limit has been given as 20 lakh rupees. Okay. In case of special category states, the limit is further reduced to 10 lakhs. Now which are these special category states? I would tell you when we would be doing the chapter on registration. Okay. So if you are below 20 lakh marks, or in special category states if you are below 10 lakh mark, then in that case you don't have to get yourself registered under GST, and obviously you don't have to pay any GST also. Okay. This is the threshold limit in GST. The next key feature in GST is about the compounding, or what we call them as the composite schemes for small businessmen. Now compounding or composite schemes, they are given to facilitate the small businessman, the small I would say the persons who are doing their business at a small level, right? For those, there are certain schemes called compounding schemes or composite schemes. Now under composite schemes, it would be very easy for the person to work out its tax liability, okay, and to pay it to the government. Now if you are opting for a composite scheme, then you are not required to maintain any kind of records for GST, separate records for GST. Okay, you don't further require for any kind of audit. When you are not keeping the records, there is no question of audit also. Okay, so for those kind of people whose level of business is not so high, for them there would be a very easy way of working out their tax liabilities. Okay, not much of the burden in relation to administration of the tax here, compliance of the tax here is given to those small SSCs. It has not been given to them. They have been kept almost free for such compliance burden. Okay, they don't have to maintain separate set of records. They don't need to get their records also audited by a chartered cost accountant or an advocate. So these are the composite schemes available for small businessmen. The level initially announced for these kind of schemes was 50 lakhs. So if your supplies, overall supplies during a particular period is below or up to 50 lakhs, then there is an option for you. You may avail these kind of composite schemes. If you avail composite scheme, the calculation, the computation for your tax would be very simple, and you would not be having those things to comply with, which the other fellows who are not opting for the scheme or who are outside the purview of the scheme, they need to comply with. Okay, now please see. These are the prime features, the key features, the major characteristics of GST. Starting with why GST is called a consumption-based tax. Up till this, composite schemes, we have covered almost all the important points in GST. Okay. What else? When we know the features of GST now, then we should also discuss the benefits or advantages of GST. Okay. Please see. Let me tell you two more features. One is the presence of GST Council. Yes, it is written here also. GST Council. I am taking it as a feature of GST. There is, an organization by the name of GST Council. What is the role of GST Council? Answer is, the role of GST Council is that any kind of taxation policy or any kind of implementation of these policies, it would be on the recommendation of this GST Council. I am repeating this. GST Council would recommend things in relation to tax policies, in relation to implementation of those policies. Okay, and only on the recommendation of GST Council there could be any tax policies, any tax practices or their implementation. Without the recommendation of GST Council, there cannot be any new thing in GST. Okay, GST Council, it is an important concept here, and I would be discussing it at length, because if you remember, I think when I started this chapter, I told you that the major points under this chapter which we need to cover here, it would be first, we need to check the background. Background means what is the meaning of indirect taxes, distinction between direct and indirect taxes, and then at number 2, the need of GST. In that we studied what was the pre-GST tax structure and the deficiencies there. Okay, then we came to the prime features of GST. After completing the features, we would study in details about two things. One, GST Council, and second, GSTN. Now, as feature of GST, I am telling you just one or two sentences on GST Council and GSTN. GST Council, simply it is a body on whose recommendation any kind of tax policies are made and implemented. Okay. Now what is GSTN? Goods and Service Tax Network. I think you might have heard this, that GST is entirely system based. System means I am talking about the IT, the information technology systems. Okay. It is completely computerized. It is computer based. Okay. Now, who has done this computerization? Who is making these apps wherein if you want to register under GST, you can open this app and you can get yourself registered. If you want to submit your quarterly statement, you open a software and you can file your quarterly statement or monthly statement there. Okay. Now, who is doing all that? It is the GSTN, the Goods and Service Tax Network. Okay. GSTN is the prime hand behind the computerization of GST. Okay. There are number of advantages because everything is system based, and those advantages I would tell you when I would give you the advantage in general for GST. Okay. Now, one more thing is written here, and it is CBIC. CBIC means Central Board of Indirect Taxes and Customs. It is the Board of Indirect Taxes. Okay. What does a board do? Board, it has the obligation to make rules and regulations and to implement rules and regulations. Okay. So the Board for the Indirect Taxes, it is now called CBIC, Central Board of Indirect Taxes and Customs. Got it? Now, so far we discussed the features of GST. Now let us, state certain benefits or advantages of GST. I am not writing benefits or advantages on board just because it is simply and purely theoretical. I would simply tell you one by one what are the advantages, and if they need any discussion, I will discuss them. The first benefit or advantage of GST, they say that GST would lead to a common national market. GST would create a common national market. You must have heard about, one nation, one market, or one nation, one tax. These kind of phrases, they appeared, in your daily newspapers. One nation, one tax, one nation, one market. So, the first advantage or the benefit which these people perceived about GST, about implementing the GST, they said that it would create a common national market here in India. India would be a common market for every single, Indian citizen. Maybe he is sitting somewhere in a northeastern state, or maybe in south, or maybe any part of the Indian peninsula. So India would become a common national market. Why? Because of GST. This is the first advantage. Now, second one. Second is, rather, we have already highlighted that, the second major advantage. I would say it is not the second one, it is the first major advantage of GST. The removal of cascading effect. Mitigating cascading effect to a very great extent. You may remember that in our previous session I told you that many a person claim that the real essence of GST is in mitigating cascading effect. The removal of cascading effect is the true essence of GST. Okay. So the biggest advantage is this mitigation of cascading effect, which is completely irrational and unwanted thing in any tax system. So removal of that is the biggest highlight is the biggest advantage of GST. Okay. Now coming to the third one. The third advantage they foresee by implementing the GST, they said that the prices of the good would get lower. The prices of goods would fall after implementing GST. Now, why they thought that the prices would fall after initiating GST here? The answer is simple. I told you. Still, the tax rates in GST 5, 12, 18 and 28. And I told you that the pre-GST taxes, if you add up all the highest tax brackets there in all different taxes that time, the cumulative tax rate would be much higher than 28%. Okay. So they know that by removing all those taxes and just applying one single tax, GST, the prices of the commodities, the prices of the goods is certain to come down to a good level. Okay. And if you are a keen observer, when this was implemented in 2017, okay, from the next week onwards, there used to be full page advertisements in newspapers that this company has now curtailed their price. They have cut their prices. Earlier the price was 50 rupees, now the price has cut down to 40 rupees. So we have seen, number of companies, they have given advertisement that on their products they have cut the price to a satisfactory level. Okay. So yes, lowering of price was one of the immediate result of GST. So it is a big advantage to the people, to the society. Now coming to the next one, the next advantage or the next benefit of implementing GST is uniformity of law. Uniformity of law. Now every single state is imposing GST rather on the similar grounds. So we have now uniformity in law. Earlier this uniformity was not much, but now there is uniformity in law, and uniformity in law means there would be more deep understanding of the law. There would be less cases of confusions and complications, and that in itself is a very big advantage. The next advantage here is that they say that implementing GST would certainly give a boost to the manufacturing activity. Implementing GST would give a boost to manufacturing activities. They say this would be the advantage of implementing GST. Now please see whether after implementation of GST, whether our manufacturing facilities have really got a boost. I think most of you would say, sir, no, because the kind of news you are getting nowadays, it is that this particular industry getting down, this industry is also getting down, and so on. Manufacturing facilities, people are shutting down manufacturing facilities. Why? Now please see that if the manufacturing facilities, they wish to get a boost, there would be number of factors. GST is not the only factor which would be instrumental in boosting the morale of various industries. It is not the only factor. It is one of the many factors. If the other factors are also playing in a way that they are giving a support, they are facilitating the industry, then definitely your manufacturing activities would get a boost. They would certainly get to a higher level. But if the other factors, they are all going, the other side, they are all going downwards, then only GST cannot do anything. So it is not the flaw, of GST that the manufacturing facilities are going downward, but there are a number of other factors because of which, as of now, the manufacturing facilities, the overall manufacturing is going downwards. But let me tell you that it is a completely temporary phase. Our manufacturing, our economy is a vibrant economy. Okay, our graph would never be like this. Our graph would be this, and then there would be slight hiccups, and then again it would go with even bigger phase. So it is a temporary phase where manufacturing facilities, they are finding something difficult to cope with, and once this thing is over, again it would be on the right track. GST has not done anything to curtail manufacturing facilities, right? GST is certainly a factor which would give a boost to our manufacturing segment. Now the next advantage of GST is, and it is an after effect of a competitive price of our products. I said that because of GST, in general the prices of the goods would come down, right? And yes, we observed that yes, the prices came down. There is no doubt about it. Now, if you got competitive because there is a lesser amount of tax you need to pay, right? Because of it you have become competitive. Then the after effect of this also, it would be what? It would be that since your product now are rightly priced, you would become more competitive, not just in national market, but in international market also. You would be now much more competitive to the other players. Okay, so Indian goods, they would become more competitive in international market. This is one of the, yes, nice advantage of GST. Now what is the next advantage of GST? Now please see, if you are giving a good competition in international market, certainly people out there in different countries, they would then focus on you. And if they focus on India, chances are that the overall investment climate, the overall, I would say, the foreign investment climate here in India would get a boost. Right? No problem here. So I told you number of advantages of implementing GST. One very practical advantage, because everything is on system, the credit goes to GSTN. Because everything is on systems, it means the activities of GST are going smoothly. Right? Now, in earlier days, reconciling input tax credit, it was considered to be a huge task. Okay? But now, because everything is on system, there are hardly any flaw. Now, making a reconciliation of input tax credit, it has now become an easy task. The system would automatically reconcile your ITC. Okay, so practically this is one of the biggest advantage of GST in comparison to the pre-GST taxes, right? Now I know that I have not written anything on board about advantages or the benefits of GST, but I have discussed each and every important benefits or advantage of GST. You can, make your own notes about this. As of now, we have covered the key features of GST along with the advantages or the benefits of GST. Okay. In the coming session, the next session, I would discuss in detail what is GST Council and what is GSTN all about. Okay, but I conclude this session now. Thank you.